And we're also joined by Webster Griffin Tarpley. He's the author of many books, including 9/11 Synthetic Terror Made in the USA. And Webster Tarpley has openly called the May 1st operations, quote, the fake bin Laden incident. And Webster, are you there?
Yes, hello, good evening.
Good evening. And Webster, thank you very much for coming on. And
always a pleasure.
And you know, of course, right after 9/11, Barbara and I had you come on and discuss what your views were about 9/11, especially with your brilliant book, 9/11 Synthetic Terror Made in the USA. And now we would like to talk to you as a follow-up to that concept and that theme, and give us perhaps an overview of the what you call the fake bin Laden incident and why a false flag warning. What is going on here?
Certainly. I would first of all say that it does not make very much sense to get involved in the details of this story, if only because they are constantly changing. Right? We're told firefight yes, firefight no, firefight yes, bin Laden resisted, didn't resist, used a woman as a human shield, didn't use her. I'm sure we'll be back to other variations on lived in a cave, lived in a luxurious villa, now it's a shabby villa with an old TV set. So this is a complete mishmash, and by design, because the entire thing is a PsyOp. This is mass brainwashing. If you can remember the Kuwait incubator babies, if you can remember Jessica Lynch, this is that raised to the 10th power with all the tremendous resources of the mighty Wurlitzer, the CIA, and all the Wall Street television networks. Rather, I think what you can do, rather than go into it, you can simply say this is a manufactured PsyOp brainwashing story. But what is the goal? Right now, I think you have a number of things to point out. First, the danger of a false flag attack. The one thing that is absolutely clear about this is the target is Pakistan. Not surprising, because the target has been Pakistan. Since Obama's West Point speech of December 2009, the U.S. has been at war with Pakistan. This has absolutely nothing to do with war on terror, terrorism, Al-Qaeda, bin Laden, or anything of the kind. Taliban, Haqqani network, all irrelevant. The goal of this is to break up Pakistan, right? There are four principal groups: the Sindh, the Punjabis, the Baluchistan people, and the Pashtuns. Those four. The reason they want to break up Pakistan is, well, this is their approach to basically every country in the Middle East, from Libya to Somalia to Yemen to Sudan, where they've just done it. But in this case, it's very special, because the idea is you could have an oil pipeline going from Iran across Pakistan and into China, and this would be of vast world strategic significance. You can also use the port of Gwadar in Pakistan as the starting point for a pipeline that would go into China. This would mean a guaranteed oil supply for China without having to venture out on the oceans that are always going to be controlled by the U.S., the British, and NATO. So the goal is to take the Afghan civil war and export that into Pakistan. And when they say make peace in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, what they mean is get the Taliban working for the U.S. again, as it was, under Bush. Bush gave $65 million to the Taliban, but take that Pashtun population, the Taliban and the Pashtun being the same thing, push that into Pakistan and exacerbate that civil war. So that's mainly what they're doing. Now, along the way, the danger of false flag is we've now got these warnings out that the Al-Qaeda group is going to have revenge attacks. This opens the door very wide. We're even told that transportation, railroads, subways, and these kinds of things are threatened. So watch out for those, right? Be inoculated that if those do happen, that's not Al-Qaeda. There will be an attempt to blame it on Pakistan. We've already got people from the CIA, the old boys, telling us that if there are revenge attacks, those will have to be attributed to the Inter-Services Intelligence Service of Pakistan. And we shouldn't forget, given the attempt to kill Gaddafi of Libya last week and the killing of his son and 3 little children, which I think is a real scandal, they could also try to blame something on Libya. But this is very dangerous stuff. This is the collapse of the U.S. empire, and these are the countermeasures that are being taken to try to slow down the collapse. What could occur? This past week, the Chinese Foreign Ministry, Beijing, comes out and says, we fully support Pakistan. Essentially it means if the U.S. picks a fight with Pakistan, insists on meddling inside Pakistan, getting a civil war going inside Pakistan, then you're going to be colliding not just with Pakistan, which is already a lot, right? 200 million people with several hundred nuclear weapons, but China will be behind them. You can see how a world war could grow out of this kind of thing. The other dimension, maybe a little bit broader, is what they're trying to do with these films that we saw yesterday, right? The Bin Laden home movies. This is a way to popularize the story, right? It's reality TV, home movies. It's Bin Laden cam, right? It's almost pornographic, right? The voyeurs get something. They can see this old guy with his channel selector. But what they're trying to do with that is to popularize the idea of what they call the treasure trove, the mother lode, the cache, the terabytes. We had Donnellan, the new head of the NSC, is on television today. It's saying it's equivalent to a small college library. It's the largest cache of intelligence that we've ever gotten from a terrorist leader. Now, whose phone numbers do you think they're going to find? Will it be Prince Bandar of Saudi Arabia, whom they hate? He's been setting up this alliance between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, which the U.S. and the British absolutely hate. Will it be Putin? Will it be Gaddafi? Will it be Kim of North Korea? Will it be Karzai of Pakistan? Ahmadinejad of Iran, of course. Maliki of Iraq. They want to get rid of him. Lukashenko of Belarus. He's been accused of helping Gaddafi. Will it be Berlusconi of Italy? They always after him. Chavez of Venezuela. Rodriguez Kirchner of Argentina, or Saleh of Yemen. In other words, they've now got this treasure trove with the terabytes, and now they can say, they can invent anything they want and say, guess what, we found it in the treasure trove. It's the CIA becomes its own WikiLeaks. I've always said that WikiLeaks was a limited hangout of the CIA, but now you see the WikiLeaks method has now been taken over by the CIA itself in a rather remarkable sense. So essentially the thing that I would say is, rather than celebrate this could have been the Sarajevo of a new world war. And I would remind people, Sarajevo was this assassination, of course, in late June of 1914. Some Serbs, backed by the British, killed the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne in Vienna. The assassination took place in Sarajevo. And there's a period then of about 4 or 5 weeks when there was no war, nothing happened, and everybody was congratulating themselves. They were in la-la land. They were in a trance. They were in a dream world. And ultimately, though, by the end of July, beginning of August, the guns began to shoot, and that's probably the greatest catastrophe of European civilization that we've had up to now. And I think this may well be where we are right now. So I would urge everybody to take that old advice, right? Get active or get radioactive. This is not the end of some war. This is the targeting of Pakistan, and now the door is wide open to targeting all these other countries, and the door to a false flag blamed on al-Qaeda, blamed on Pakistan, blamed on Gaddafi, blamed on others is now wide open. So I would say maximum vigilance, and certainly don't fall prey to these illusions that somehow now there's going to be a world of peace and reform.
Let's back up just a little here and give some background to this developed theory here. The death of bin Laden as an unproven assertion by the Obama regime, right, paving the way to a new NATO false flag terror provocation or false flag operation. But let's just go through the timeline for a minute and say, why is that an unproven assertion, and why do you think that was not Osama bin Laden?
Well, I've written a book about this, as you mentioned. There were plenty of reports in 2001, 2002 that the biological bin Laden was already very ill. And there was even in 2002, I believe, CBS News, a report that they now find it convenient to forget, said that bin Laden was essentially moribund. He was about to die from kidney failure. The one hard fact we know about bin Laden is that somebody called bin Laden was treated in the American hospital in Dubai in July of 2001 for kidney failure by the resident American doctor, and the CIA agent, the station chief, was the sponsor of bin Laden's getting his kidney treatment there. So I think there's lots and lots of reasons to believe that whoever this real bin Laden was is dead, and that what you've been dealing with since then is a series of doubles. And they've addressed the issue of the doubles today. They say, well, he dyed his beard, because you could see that the bin Laden looked different. We had a fat one, a thin one, we had an angry one, we had a jovial one, and we also had, in particular, the bin Laden of, I guess it was August, September 2007, right before the Rogue B-52, if you remember this. He had a very dark beard, so much so that I said he looked like Groucho Marx, and in many ways he did. So they've tried to address that today. What you've had is a series of audio tapes and videotapes. These have been issued at precisely the times that the U.S. intelligence community wanted. Just one example. The bin Laden tape of late October 2004 gave a significant push to Bush the younger getting reelected. And at other times, again, we had him right before this Rogue B-52, which might have become a Middle East war. Certainly there was an Israeli attack on Syria at that time. There was another bin Laden tape. So these came out more or less on order. The other thing you can say is that this double bin Laden, whatever else he was doing, was getting, I think, inquiries, right? Somebody would say, I'm a jihadi here in Chinese Turkestan. What should I do? And the helpful advice from this pseudo bin Laden would be, then you want to pick a fight with those guys in Beijing that are really bad. Or another guy would write in and say, here I am in Chechnya. What should I do? And they'd say, well, Putin is the one you've got to go after. And you can see they would simply take this patsy milieu, the dupes, the psychotics, the fanatics, the mercenaries, the double agents, the misfits, the drifters, all these people that come into this patsy milieu which exists, and give them some kind of a direction. But it's not a spontaneous phenomenon, and there's nothing about this that you can take at face value, because the whole thing is so supercharged with intelligence agencies that none of this is spontaneous. All of it is calculated and designed to deceive at the very least.
Excuse me a minute. Webster, this is Barbara. There are 2 points of view that seem to be emerging. The first is now the U.S. can pull out of Afghanistan. We've got the major terrorists there. The other point of view is that this military operation and its success justifies further expansion of the military budget. Neither seem reasonable to me. Do they to you?
No, I reject both of those, obviously, and I hope I think I'm not alone in trying to represent a third point of view. Again, I would repeat, Mrs. Clinton there at the State Department already made a big policy shift in February where she said, the U.S. is now ready to negotiate with the so-called Taliban without preconditions. You don't have to give up violence. You don't have to renounce al-Qaeda. You don't have to embrace the Constitution of Afghanistan. We'll talk to you as is. It's clear what they're trying to do. That Taliban group are the descendants of the Mujahideen of the 1980s who fought the Soviets in the service of the U.S. They are a part of this CIA Arab Legion. And the Pashtuns, along with the Baluchis, are the two key groups that the U.S. wants to play against Pakistan, to goad them into a fury. And the reason you have these predator drones flying around and attacking wedding parties, this is by design. This is to make the Taliban, the Pashtuns, furiously angry with the government in Islamabad that they blame for this. So the entire thing, again, has absolutely nothing to do with terrorism in any way, shape, or form. This is entirely geopolitics. The goal is to target Pakistan. Pakistan is an ally of China. Pakistan is a key ally now of Saudi Arabia. They've just made a deal that if the U.S. tries to bring down the Saudi Arabian royal family with a color revolution, Pakistani divisions will be there. And I believe also that the Pakistani nuclear umbrella has been extended over Saudi Arabia. So all of this facilitates these countries leaving the empire.